Hey guys! So, the actual ninth installment of the Fast and Furious franchise is set for a 2020 release. Now, before anyone says anything, I am aware of the Hobbs and Shaw spin off movie. I'm not too sure if that movie is actually going to get made. All I know is that there is one in the making. And I will be reviewing that movie as soon as it takes place in this universe. But I won't be reviewing it on its release. I will be reviewing it as in the lead up that I'm doing for that actual ninth installment. And as any lead up series does, I'm going to start with the very first one, The Fast and the Furious. First of all, the one thing that I've always loved about this movie is when it takes place in the early 2000s. This is very nostalgic for me because I was 3 at the time, and I grew up watching this movie, thankfully. And so I relate to a lot of the things that goes on in this, that is shown in this movie. A lot of the things that our characters do, like having a barbecue in the middle of the day, going back inside, watching a movie, late into the night. So I love the feeling that this movie gives me as someone who grew up in this time period. I love the set design of their house, and I really enjoy the early 2000s filmmaking and editing style that is used for a lot of this movie. Alright, so Brian O'Connor turns out to be a undercover cop for the FBI who are conducting an investigation to try and find out who's been stealing products from these trucks. And this investigation or FBI or police part of the story could have lacked. To some, it might lack, but to me, I actually don't mind it. I actually enjoy this part of the movie, weirdly enough. I enjoy the conversations that Brian has with his fellow policemen back at headquarters in that really nice house. So yeah, I don't mind it. It's not the best part of the movie, admittedly, but I do like it. But there is one part of this movie that I actually don't like, and it's the character of Hector. And it's only because he is very racist. Because he continuously uses offensive slang referring to white people. And I'm going to show you some examples here.
Brian Spillner.
Yeah, typical white boy, man.
When do you need this stuff by?
Tomorrow, today, now.
Right.
Come on, man. White boys work fast, don't they?
Yeah, so he just continuously uses the word white boy, white boy. It's like, that, stop. Anyway, moving on from that. Going back to the people who keep stealing shit from the trucks. This turns out to be Toretto and his crew. And even on first viewing, it's a little predictable. You can see it coming from miles away. But I do like it, though, even though it is a little predictable. And because of how the movie doesn't reveal their identity from the get-go. Like, even though it is predictable, they could have just shown their faces from the start, and then it would have lost, the mystery, I guess. But I do like that they're all dressed in black. They've got their faces covered, but why I like it is because at the beginning of the movie, one of these mystery drivers drives under the truck, and this happens to be Letty, who does the exact same thing later in the movie when they're all trying to pull off the last job on this other truck. And I like it just because it's a small thing, but it's an attention to detail. And that's why I like it. I love attention to detail in any movie. This is one of them. Now, this movie has a lot of great scenes, but I honestly think that the best one would have to be the scene where Dom opens up about his past to Brian in his garage. Very great scene. And he explains to Brian that his father was a pro racer but got into an accident, which ended with him losing his life. And Dom goes on to explain that when he came across the guy that may have caused this accident that killed his father, he explains that he started hitting him and didn't intend to keep going, but obviously kept going. And ended up putting this guy in hospital. Um, and this ended up being the cause for Dom being banned from the racetrack for life. Um, and it's got to be the best character building scene in the entire movie, because every time I watch it, I wonder, like, where would Dom be if not for that incident? It's a really, yeah, I just really love that scene, because it really gets me invested into Dom as a character, as he is, I don't know, the one of the two leading roles in this movie. Now, one last point that I want to make is that I am aware of the movie Point Break. I've never seen it though, but I am aware of it, and I know that this one takes a lot of inspiration from that movie, and I don't particularly care. I really love this movie. In fact, I really love this movie, and I don't know. I just really love it because, as I said earlier in the review, the one thing that I immediately love every time I rewatch this movie is the feeling that it gives me as someone who did grow up in this time era, this time period, and this movie injects so many things from that era that brings me back to that very nostalgic time of my life. So, I love this movie. All the characters are, well, pretty much all the characters are great. Dom and Brian are the strongest parts of this movie. And one last thing, the chase scene at the end, great, love it. Possibly the best action scene in the movie, or maybe the head-to-head race between Dom and Brian at the very end. I don't know. Anyway, I just really love this movie and its two leading roles. It's a great movie, and honestly, I think it's pretty underrated for a Fast and Furious movie. I think it in my personal opinion, it's my favorite. It's my number. It's my one favorite movie until Fast Five. This one and Fast Five are my two most favorite movies. I'll get into Fast Five when I review that movie. Anyway, that is my review for The Fast and the Furious. Listen, I have something very special planned for these lead up reviews. And the reason why I'm starting to review this franchise now in 2018, 2 years before the ninth film release in 2020, is because I do have something very special planned, something that is going to take about 2 years to really do. Okay, so it's a sort of journey that I'm planning to take you guys on as I do these lead up reviews. So I'm excited to do that for you guys. I'm excited to do it because it's a big part of my life that I haven't yet done. So look forward for my review for Too Fast, Too Furious coming out whenever I can bring it to you. I will see you in that review.